and welcome back to day 14 of this 30-day challenge. I am super excited. Today we are talking about what if you didn't have anything to prove, right? Proving is a big word that's been coming up with a lot of you in this group when I've been chatting with you in Messenger, as well as just I've noticed quite a few questions coming in lately about that. And so I wanted to dive in and share about that. It's also been on my heart lately. So if you feel like you are constantly trying to prove your worth, to try to prove that you're good enough, to prove that you deserve something or deserve to be somewhere or anything, this video is going to be really helpful for you. We're going to be diving into some of the inner work behind all of it. So as you are hopping on, please drop some hearts, say hi, give it a thumbs up. If you're catching the replay, comment replay, let me know that you're here, and let's dive in. So today's video, I think I want to start with something that came to my own awareness personally and a personal story that I think probably a lot of you can relate to in some way or another, is this feeling like I need to prove that I'm enough by, giving, over giving, by people pleasing, by showing up and, doing the absolute best I can and still not really feeling good enough. Like this hustle mentality and this force, this grind, and what can happen so often I see, especially for women, is we end off out of balance of our masculine and feminine energies, and every single one of us has masculine and feminine dynamics and the polarities there. So when we feel like we have to prove something, that's kind of a very masculine energy, and what can happen is it can sometimes get us caught in our ego, and our ego, without I'm not saying an egotistical or conceited thing, but it pulls us into our head and out of our hearts. And so what this video is all about is coming back to your heart, coming back to your truth, which is that you are already good enough. There's nothing to prove. So what day? Day 14, did I say? Day 14, task 1 is going to be to sit down and journal and just look at what areas of my life am I maybe trying to prove my worth right now. And if you're like me a few years ago, it was pretty much every area of my life. I was trying to prove myself in my friendships by, bending over backwards, people pleasing, being there every beck and call and then drop of a hat, even if I couldn't. I was just trying to prove oh, I care about you, let me prove this, or prove that I'm a good person by being here. I was proving myself in my relationships to my parents, same thing, because of my own personal, upbringing and relationship to my parents and to the way I needed and wanted love. There was this need to prove my worth, to prove that I'm good enough, to prove that, I'm not a disappointment to them. Even though neither of my parents were ever making me feel like a disappointment, it was something I was internally carrying because it's linked to self-worth, okay? I was trying to prove myself in my business. I remember when I started my coaching business 3 years ago, I knew that I was going to help so many people. I knew I had so much to share, but I wanted to prove, and this is where I was kind of in the ego of I have to do this now. I have to make this happen fast. If I can't achieve XYZ in this short time frame, I'm not good enough. I'm a failure, all these things. So I was forcing and hustling and again trying to prove. It came back to that, and I was so out of alignment with my heart because of it. So I was proving in my business. I've tried to prove my worth to partners in the past, where it's I'm just trying to be absolutely perfect and the best at everything to prove that I'm good enough. And I'm sure that a lot of you can relate in one of those areas, right? And trying to prove that I'm enough by being financially successful, or by having these certifications or accolades or external recognition. It comes in a lot of forms. So task 1 bringing it back to that, is to journal and look at your own life and look at where you might be trying to prove your worth right now. And be super honest with yourself. Be really, really, clear on, wow, okay, you know what? There are these different patterns. There are these ways I'm really maybe overdoing it at times, and it actually doesn't feel the best. And it still kind of leaves me feeling like I'm not good enough because I'm looking for that external thing, either a person and them giving you the love or the appreciation, or an achievement, an accolade, money in the bank, and a certain level in your business, a certain career, a certain certification. You're looking for that external thing. Excuse me. You're looking for that external thing to give you that validation and make you feel good enough. So be radically honest with yourself. I'd love for those of you who are watching this right now, again, whether you're catching this live or on the replay, please just share if this relates, if this resonates to you. You don't need to be super vulnerable if you don't want to. You don't need to share exactly what area of your life you're feeling it. I'm getting some hearts, so I'm assuming that's a yes. But yeah, just comment down below and let me know, like, this resonates, or I feel that way, or I have felt that way before, okay? So with that said, what I want to come to, as I shared the difference between the head and the heart, and this is also the masculine and the feminine in a lot of ways. And again, like, no judgment, no labels as good or bad, right or wrong, but masculine energy is a lot more structural, it's a lot more logic, it's a lot more fact-based, it's a lot more of the action, whereas feminine energy is a lot more, the open, the loving, the emotions, the receptivity, the flow, and that is our heart space versus our head space, right? And so this is where let's just do that now as task 2 for day 14. This relates and resonates super strongly. I'm so glad. Yay, I'm so glad that it's like connecting with you. So task 2 is going to be, now that you've gone clear in task 1 on where you might be trying to prove your worth, right, and prove that you're enough, task 2 is going to be to look at, like, is this coming from my head or is this coming from my heart? And I'm sure probably most of you will feel, oh, this is actually coming from my head. This is coming from a pressure or an expectation that might be coming externally, or it might be something I've set for myself. Again, I will be 110% honest. Most of the time when I'm trying to prove something, it's 100% coming from me. It's 100% coming from my own pressures and expectations, my feeling that I need to achieve or be or show up in order to be enough. And it's not really related to other people being like, Kara, you're not enough because you didn't do this. Or like, the only way I'm gonna love you is if you do these things for me. Like, I could probably count on, like, my hands how often someone else has made that demand or made that, like, standard or expectation verbally to make me feel like I need to prove myself. 99% of the time, it's just come from my own upbringing, my own beliefs, my own inner child wounds, and, like, need to be loved, which is normal, it's valid, it's fair. So no judgment if that is the case. But task 2 is looking at, am I operating from my head or my heart? Because there's a very big difference between taking action and showing up and, like, pursuing something or giving and serving. Like, that is coming from the heart. That's beautiful, right? Or, I mean, it can be. You could be coming from the heart and doing all of those things. It's coming from love. It's coming from passion. It's coming from excitement. It's coming from alignment and desire and, like, oh, this is what I really want to do. I'm just so called to do it. That's a beautiful, incredible way to be in, place to be. But that's not the same as proving to feel like you're enough. Because if you're proving from the head, that's where it comes back to that, like, oh, I'll only be enough when, and so I'm forcing it, or I'm going like, I'm doing it, but I'm not doing it for the right reasons. I think that's what I'm trying to get to here. So definitely resonates. I think it's more internal for me than looking for outside gratification. That's such a great awareness too. It's more like proving for your own validation, or proving to yourself, maybe. Is that what you mean? And like, okay, I've got to achieve these things to then feel like I accomplished it, or feel like I'm good enough, feel like I'm worthy. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. So I still have huge dreams and aspirations, and I still work pretty damn hard every day at trying to get there and taking the steps. So the work, the hustle, the doing is not a bad thing, but it's the discerning of what are you trying to prove in doing it. So what I love is coming back to, you know, just like a really service-based mindset, which is like, if I love doing this, I'm gonna do it anyway, but not to prove anything, or not to feel like now I'm good enough. I'm doing it because I love it. And the external things or whatever is just a bonus. And so that is the heart. That's the heart-centered way, right? Whereas the head is often caught up in like, once I achieve this, or once I do this, or once I receive this, then I can feel good enough. And then that is a trap, because it just constantly keeps us searching for more, and oftentimes kind of coming out of alignment with why we started it in the first place. So even when it comes to relationships, and I talk about people pleasing quite a bit, and I've been talking about like activating your voice, speaking up, setting healthy boundaries. I've been chatting about that tons on my new Instagram, which if you haven't checked it out, it's Release to Thrive. Please do so. I would love to have you on there if it relates to you. But I'm talking about the people pleasing and the boundaries, and it's not that I don't believe in still, you know, caring about other people or helping their needs, or being a kind and giving person, but it's about like the proving. So like, I used to people please, and I used to try to prove my worth by putting other people first. Prove that I'm a good enough person by bending over backwards and doing everything I possibly could, and like, you know, once I, you know, if I could just do this for them, then they're gonna love me. Like, then they're gonna see that I'm enough. Then they're gonna see my beauty or my heart or whatever. That was from a place of proving. And that is from kind of like a small self. That's kind of from the ego, and this feeling like I'm not enough as I am. Once I prove this to someone, then I'll be enough. And then I'll be able to feel good in myself. But that is a trap, and it keeps us really stuck. So there's a difference between doing things for other people because you're trying to prove your worthiness, and doing it from a heart-centered place because you just want to help. So it's not like I say no to everyone now that I'm like, you know, breaking free from a lot of people-pleasing patterns. It's more of like, what's the intention and the alignment behind it? Does this feel like, does it feel good for me to go do that, to help them out, or does it feel good for me to have a relationship and a partnership with this person? If yes, then go for it, right? Then go follow your heart and show up and do that and give back and be your best self and overflow your cup to everyone you can. But if it's coming from like, oh, I'm gonna just overflow and give and show up for them to prove that I'm enough, or to prove that I'm worthy, that's a very different thing. And then that's constantly keeping us looking outside of ourselves to feel enough. So I'm so glad y'all are relating. I forget what I said in the caption for this video. Of the other topics, self-worth, you know, confidence, but really that need to prove. So question or task 3 is going to just be like a quick reflection, but it'll be really powerful for you. So task 3 is to then look at, what is it I feel I need to prove? Or why do I feel I need to prove myself? And really sit with this. Some of you might get an answer and clarity on it right away. Some of you, maybe you need to reflect and kind of dive back into your memory bank of different times where you were proving, or these different situations you're trying to prove yourself right now. And ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? What is it that I feel that I need to prove? And kind of look at where it stems from. So more often than not, it's likely going to come from something related to childhood, just because everything does. I swear, everything relates back to childhood, which is why it's so beautiful to do this work and become aware of how that's playing out in our adult lives. So again, for me, like a lot of my proving my worth, I can directly link majority of it back to sort of these feelings of not necessarily abandonment, but feelings of like inadequacy with my dad, because I've talked about this before. He was so busy with work and rarely around or able to like interact or give love the way I wanted. I know now as an adult, he was providing, and that was how he was showing his love, because he was, making money so we could have food and a house and go on holidays and all these things. But at the time, as little child Kara, I didn't understand those things. And so I had a lot of like unworthiness of, oh, I guess I'm not good enough because he doesn't have time for me, or he doesn't want to, he's not super interested in like what I'm doing or spending time, or just being around. And I really needed that love and attention in a different way than he was giving it to me. Because I didn't get it, there was this feeling like, oh, if I just do even better at school, then maybe I'll be good enough. Or if I just make that soccer team or that basketball team or that ringette team, if I just and if I score more goals, then maybe I'll be good enough. Or if I can just be one of the best people or the captain, or if I can get a scholarship, if I can go do this, if I can make more money and have a successful business, then he's gonna love me. And like pretty much all of it stems back to that, because that was the wound for me, the unworthiness wound that I personally experienced. So I notice it playing out especially in a lot of relationships or other masculine dynamics in my life, which again comes back to just the awareness. So I just want to share that with you, because chances are when you do task 3 and you kind of reflect on like, why am I trying to prove myself, and where did this stem from, chances are there is going to be something back in your childhood that had you feeling like, once I do this, then I'll be loved, or this is the only way to prove that I'm good enough and that I'm worthy. And so it's kind of kept you trapped in that cycle. So those are your tasks for today. And I think it goes without saying, but let's just say it once more. You are worthy already. You're already enough, and there's nothing to prove. And so a nice little mantra that came through me yesterday after a really deep meditation and deep healing session was, me just being me is enough, or me just being myself is already enough. And it felt like this weight lifted for me when I realized that. And I've known it, it's not anything new, but just the way that it hit me yesterday was like, yeah, that's it. Me just being myself is already enough. Me just doing the things I love and I'm passionate about and being in my best energy, taking care of myself, and then sharing and giving to others. Me just being myself is enough. I don't need to prove. I don't need to force. I don't need to hustle. I don't need to chase. I don't need to cling to. I don't need to be desperate about. None of that. I just get to be myself, and that is already enough. And so I just want to end this video with that reminder for you that you just being yourself is already enough. And comment that down below. Me just being myself is already enough. Me just being myself is already enough. And this is your truth. So claim it, right? And really own it and sit with it and write it down over and over again until you until it sinks in, until it clicks, and put it on your mirror. And do whatever you need as a reminder, especially if you constantly find yourself trying to prove. This will really help you. Just remember, me being myself is already enough, okay? And so I'm going to end this video here. There are some amazing tasks for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to comment down below or shoot me a message. I'm always down to chat. And if you are looking for more support with this and you really want to dive in and do this healing work and like make massive shifts, and I mean, I don't know how long I've talked for, maybe like I tend to be talking for like 20 minutes. Now I've just lost the video. There we go. Okay. I tend to be talking quite a bit. So I don't know how long I've talked for, but this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? What I've brought up here is going to help you dive in, and you're going to have some major awareness, but there's so much more. And I love talking about this stuff because it's like layers of an onion where you peel stuff back and there's always another layer. But instead of being intimidated by that or feeling like disheartened that the journey never ends, it's like, fuck yeah, there's another layer, and I get to face this, and I get to uncover and see, oh wow, that's where that came from, and oh, I don't like that anymore, so I'm gonna shift that, I'm gonna change, and like, ooh, that's a piece I'm ready to get rid of, so I'm gonna work on that now, right? Like, it's fun, it gets to be a game, and you're worthy every step of the way. So if you're looking for support, if you're looking for deeper tools and guidance, this is exactly what I help women do. And I'm so passionate and excited about it because we create such massive shifts together. So if you want to know more and chat about that, I'm going to drop the link down below, as always, for my Release to Thrive Mastermind, which is my 90-day program. We do so much of this deep healing work and then realigning with your true self so you can show up fully confident and own who you are, what you're here to do. And yeah, I have a couple spots right now. I'm jumping on some more discovery calls this week. But if you want to chat and just see if this is a good fit, see if I can help you further, then the link to book a call is on that link down below. Again, I'll drop it in there right after this video. So thank you so much for being here. You're worthy just by being yourself. Nothing to prove, nobody to prove it to. Prove it to yourself. And by prove it to yourself, I mean, don't even prove, because you already are. So just like realize that. I love you all. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you tomorrow for day 15.